Today we have Azuga to discuss safer fleet management. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Babaracki. I am the Director of Partner Business Development here, and joining me is my peer, Tracy Avanzo. I call her my partner in crime, right? So we're here to talk about Azuga. And today we're really going to focus or talk through just kind of the sales book for you guys as advisors. We're going to talk about who you should target, which verticals convert fastest, how to open the conversation, and why Azuga wins. So some of you may have known me from a previous company. I came over to Azuga here not that long ago. I've been here a couple months. Tracy's really my expert. She's been here for over 4 years now, almost 5 years. I came over to Azuga to work with someone I've worked with in the past, right? And the first time he said fleet management to me, I thought, oh, semis, right? We're not just talking about semi trucks, folks, or even large box trucks, right? Think of fleet management as company vehicles out on the road, anything that has a logo on it, right? Cars, pickups, vans, small trucks, large trucks. Think heavy construction vehicles. And oh, by the way, we're not just talking about vehicles. We're talking about non-motorized assets like construction trailers with expensive equipment in it or large generators, right? Anything that needs to be tracked. So start thinking about that. Anything that has a company logo on it that can be moved. You all have a base of customers today, and you've been really focused on what does their network look like, how secure is their network, how do they communicate with their customers, and collaborate internally on those, right? Lots of cloud, network, and security conversations. So have you ever really thought about what those same customers have in the parking lots? And do they have company vehicles today? And how are they managing those? Are those conversations that maybe have come up? Think of it as a company vehicle is just another endpoint. For many customers today, that's an unmanaged endpoint with a lot of insightful information. So it's also the highest cost mobile asset for most companies today. So as we're talking today, keep in mind that you don't have to be a fleet expert. I'm not asking you to figure all this out and cram all of this into your brain, right? We run a co-sell motion here where a Azuga AE will run the demo and do the technical validation and help you close the deal. You just need to be able to spot the opportunity and bring it to us. So I know we've done a presentation previous this year around the product and what it does. So in case you forgot, we sell GPS trackers and AI dash cameras on a software platform that's really easy to use, right? So we're not going to do any more product training. If you need more, let us know. We'll schedule some one-on-one time, right? I want to focus on who, why, and how. Who to target, why we win, and how we position Azuga. So I also want to float before we really get into it, just a couple things, right? Fleet telematics, I'm learning this product as well right now, right? That's just the technical data to monitor location, vehicle health, and driver behavior, right? That provides insights to companies to help make their drivers safer on the road, help their drivers get home safely at night, and really just lower the liability risk in the process, right? That's our goal. So we're working to change the company fleet vehicle to a managed endpoint. So what type of information do we get out of these vehicles? We can tell how hard a driver is braking, how hard they're accelerating, hard cornering. Are they idling too much throughout the day? Are they making unnecessary stops? Are they taking the scenic route? We can also tell if they're not wearing seatbelts, if they're driving distracted, either with their phone or eating lunch, right? We can tell if they're fatigued or simply just don't have their eyes on the road. We can also monitor weather conditions or maintenance needs on a vehicle. Is it time to rotate the tires? Is it time to replace the tires? Is it overinflated or underinflated in the tires? And then we're monitoring the assets of the non-motorized on just their location, right? So the list goes on, but those are just a few things that we can do. So many of you may be thinking right now, like, if my customer doesn't have this today, how am I going to convince them to spend more money? Our customers typically see an ROI in 3 to 6 months. It's fast, right? Most of that is through maintenance monitoring, savings in fuel, and avoiding breakdowns or unnecessary repairs, right? But there's also the accident prevention side of things. 1 in 5 accidents in the US per year involve a company vehicle. Between 30 and 40% of those accidents, the company driver is found to be at fault. And when there is a fatality, over 70% of the time, it's the occupant of the other vehicle, right? So for the accidents that is deemed a commercial driver at fault, 41% is distracted driving, 33 were driving too fast in weather, or they were tailgating or just misjudged some stopping distance, and 11% with that was just overcorrecting, maybe panic steering or poor directional control. But the average cost per accident involving a company vehicle is just under $17,000. You add an injury to that, it jumps to $74,000, and you add a fatality to that, it's over $500,000 per accident. Companies can't afford not to have fleet telematics in their company vehicle. The platform, the tools are there to help educate driver safety and keep the vehicles in good working condition. So the bonus is that we can use the data to do things like AI accident reconstruction to help avoid unnecessary litigations when the company driver isn't at fault. So let's start with the who. Who should you be looking at? The next time you're out and see your customers, or even the next time you're out driving around, right? Take a look at how many vehicles have a logo on it, either on the road or in your customer's parking lot. Our ideal customer profile starts with a client that dispatches vehicles or mobile field workers and just lacks visibility into vehicle location, driver safety, or operational costs. Sweet spots are 10 to right around 100 vehicles. We can certainly scale up from there. We have customers over 5,000 vehicles today. We don't have a minimum. We will go as low as 1, right? The sweet spot is just 10 to 100 right now. And a key gap to look for is if your customers have no dedicated safety manager or no mature telematics program today. These are the companies that need your help. So over on the right is just how we break down the segments here at Azuga. We think of SMB from 5 to 49, mid-market from 50 to like 109. So we're playing in that SMB to mid-market space really well. SMB is your smaller shops, local, regional, often no dedicated fleet manager. Mid-market, they're growing companies, again, local, probably regional in your market, maybe starting to acquire a few other businesses. They have a mix of dispatch or op roles and growing compliance concerns within their organization. And then the enterprise are more the national and definitely growing through acquisition, but they've got in-house safety teams and complex IT environments. So the buyers really depend on the space. So for the SMB customers, you're likely going to talk to the owner, president, or CEO, and you'll want to lead those conversations with insurance savings, reduce the company's liability, plus they're getting enterprise AI software backed by Bridgestone for credibility. And I think I forgot to mention that at the very beginning. If you're not familiar with Azuga, we are a Bridgestone company. So we're a very small piece in a very large organization, but we're a profitable company as well. So that is important to know. For those mid-market segment, you're likely going to end up talking to the ops or fleet managers. You want to lead with the dispatch team having better visibility, the ability to keep better maintenance records with alerts, and then being able to give their drivers actual driving scores based on their performance. So finally, these managers know who's speeding and who's not, who's their most riskiest drivers, right? These managers are your best champions within the organization because they are going through the dispatch and the maintenance pains currently. And then at the enterprise level, you could be talking to the safety or risk manager. You know, those guys are going to be your best champions. You'll want to lead with safety cam to do better driver coaching, gamified rewards program. Tracy's going to talk about in a little bit, and being just audit ready with the EDLs and DBIRs. So A key takeaway here is to look for the triggers and pain points in their organization and identify the key champion for that particular segment, right? And then use that to open up the Azuga conversation. So I am working on building a small library on our Azuga partner portal to help you with the buying personas and the qualified questions that I'll point you to at the very end. So let's get into the verticals just a little bit. We've got some very typical targets that are easy wins, and then we'll talk about a few non-typical verticals that people overlook when talking about fleet telematics. We've got a core group of 5 verticals that are easy wins for us. It starts with construction and heavy equipment. Lots of downtime due to maintenance issues and theft. Maintenance alerts and recording keeping is their friends along with tracking. The field services, the folks like the HVAC, electrical and plumbing, just to name a few, they get customer complaints on late arrivals and billable hours. Companies now have proof of when their employee arrived on site and when they drove away, right? They can also field questions on better ETAs, right? When a customer calls and asks if the technician is ever going to arrive to fix their broken AC unit, the company dispatch team already knows the tech's location. They don't even need to check in with the tech accordingly. So trucking and logistics, fuel is a huge cost for every company, right? For these guys, it's typically 20% or more of their operating costs. And of course, they've got fluctuating fuel costs, right? We can help these companies see things like idle times, speeding, aggressive driving, and even inefficient routes. Those are at least the controllable factors that can help keep the costs down, right? Most of our Azuga customers see around a 15% fuel savings after implementing Azuga, and they see up to 43% fewer breakdowns with the maintenance records and alerts. So in addition to that, you've got DOT audits, right? ELDs or the hours of operation that a truck's on the road. It's a federally mandated component, and some companies still have very manual logs that aren't properly stored or updated. Azuga can turn that into electronic logs, so they're available at the driver's fingertips when they need them. So they can start avoiding fines, which is even more cost savings. Landscaping and pest control, these companies can work to keep their field techs in one particular area to keep drive time down and optimize fuel and time. And then the last one, as far as the easy wins, is the utilities, telecom, public sector. These guys have operating budgets that get highly scrutinized, right? They need to be prepared to defend their line item in the budget. There's a lot of compliance and meeting safety concerns or KPIs, right? We can give the data, we can give them the needed data to back that up. So I've got a list of non-typical verticals here. I won't go through them all, but these are opportunities that are typically overlooked. What I've done instead is put together a sheet with both the typical and the non-typical verticals, the pain points and the talking points around them, so you can have that at your fingertips. And I've placed that over on our Azuga partner portal for easy access for you. So I'll be sure to provide that link for you guys there. So just to name 2 of them, right? Nonprofits and senior transports. These guys could have 2 vans, right? The concern there is stewardship and liability. If they're funded by grants or donors, every dollar spent has to be defensible to a board or a grant funder. The biggest risk here is liability. They often have either a volunteer driver or a part-time staff that don't get commercial driver training. Breakdowns due to neglected maintenance could mean missed meal deliveries or stranded riders, right? So full reporting with maintenance alerts are key to getting them, getting and keeping their funding. And then someone like an auto dealer, loaner vehicles or even shuttle vans, right? The dealer has no visibility and vehicles are returned with the miles racked up, right? Dealers can put geofencing on their vehicles to know if they left a specific area or just simply track it down. So one thing I will note that is not a good fit for us, marine vehicles. We use cellular towers, wireless services, essentially, to do all this tracking and monitoring. So if they're heading out to sea, we're not going to be able to track them. So marine vehicles are out for us. And then very large city emergency services, you know, you got city, police, fire, EMT. Those have very specialized needs. We have a fair number of small town emergency services, but we do not do the really big ones. So if you're thinking about it, who in your book of business already has a vehicle or a crew on the road and you never thought of them as a fleet account, right? There is a lot of overlooked opportunities here that we'd love to discuss with you guys. So I'm going to hand it over to Tracy and have her handle this side. Tracy?
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. So we've talked about who to call on and the industries where we've seen the most success. Now let's answer the question that you're probably thinking, why Azuga, right? There's a lot of telematics companies out there, so why would you bring us into your customer relationships? I think the main answer for that is that we are truly more than just GPS. I'd encourage you to remember that we're not just selling GPS, we're helping customers lower operating costs, improve driver safety, reducing their liability, and gaining better visibility into their business. So GPS is really just the mechanism or technology that makes all of that possible. Julie mentioned at the beginning about Bridgestone. The Bridgestone name does truly matter. It is one of our biggest key differentiators. So being backed by Bridgestone, customers know that they're not buying from a startup company, right? They're partnering with one of the most recognized brands, and that credibility goes a long way. As you look at the slide, it's talking about operational efficiency. So telematics isn't just about tracking vehicles, right? It's running a better business. Again, I mentioned just a few seconds ago, reducing that idle time, optimizing routes, improving utilization, and proactively identifying maintenance issues before those vehicles break down and it becomes a major expense for the company. Safety through gamification and awards. This is probably my favorite part of our platform. It helps driver adoption. So most telematics platforms will tell a driver everything they're doing wrong. It's that big brother mentality. With Azuga, we're going to help drivers improve through our patented driver scoring and rewards program. It's through gamification. And if you think about it, it's really, we want to be the carrot versus the stick. So we make it competitive. It's a really neat way, nobody wants to be at the bottom of a list amongst their peers. And that's really how the program runs. They can see where they rank amongst their peers. And so they're going to start driving better, right? If Julie was at the top and I was at the bottom, I'm certainly don't want to be the conversation at the water cooler. So I'm going to start driving better. And to make it even more impactful, the fleet manager dispatcher can reward with virtual gift cards right to the driver's mobile app. So if Julie was rewarded, she can instantly go to Starbucks and get her coffee or go shop on Amazon. So it's a really neat program. It is patented. And again, one of my favorite parts of our platform. As far as some of our other key differentiators, the Safety IQ is an amazing part of our platform where you can actually see the context of what happens in an accident. You could see video, you could see driver behavior, the accident reconstruction, and any evidence that can help if there's any sort of litigation to protect their business. We also have open APIs. So we have a plethora of integrations in our marketplace on our website. If a customer is utilizing another technology and they want a single pane of glass, we can certainly work with our solution engineering team to perform an integration. And then I know Julie touched on this. We do have an ELD solution. for compliance on Class 8 vehicles. That is super important with the FMCSA having the ruling in 2019. All logs are now electronic, and so we have that as part of our solution. So at the bottom, you can see, competitive positioning. I like to think of this more as, why do partners like to work with us, right? We're easy to sell. It's plug and play installation. If a customer says, I don't want to install, I do want a professional installation, we certainly can make recommendations for that. It also could be another revenue stream for your business if you have technicians out in the field. We also offer flexible pricing. So we have both a CapEx and OpEx model. I would say probably 95% of our customers go the OpEx route. No out of pocket to get started. They're not paying for hardware upfront. And then it's either a 24 or 36-month agreement. So if you think of that, you also add in the Bridgestone backing and a true co-sell model. We'll do the heavy lifting, and you can remain the trusted advisor. Next slide. So how to position Azuga. So now that you understand why customers choose Azuga, I think, it's important to know, how do we get there? Like, how do we position Azuga? I think that this is probably one of the most important slides in our deck today, because you don't need to be an expert on the Azuga solution. We don't need you to memorize features. We just want you to listen and capture the problems that your customers are conveying. So instead of asking the customer if they need GPS, you can ask things like, tell me about your insurance premiums. What does your fuel costs look like? Are your technicians arriving on time? Are you managing your vehicle maintenance, keeping up on the health of those vehicles? And then driver safety or accident concerns that the customer may have. Those are really great ways to start the conversation. And then you can see the steps, the 4 steps here. Identify. So really the easiest question is, do you own and operate a fleet of company vehicles, right? I think there is a misconception when we use the word fleet, and I actually just said it. But sometimes people think a fleet could be a parking lot full of Walmart semis or Amazon trucks, right? Julie had said in the beginning about, home health, senior transport, those types of things. It's any vehicle that is owned by a company where you have mobile employees or valuable assets worth tracking. So step 2, you're obviously going to listen for the buying signals. If they talk about their increase in insurance, their downtime, maintenance headaches, fuel expenses, that's all in the discovery phase. Where we can help is we can certainly jump in, and you can just schedule a 30-minute meeting with our team. Again, no need to be the expert. We'll take care of all of the additional qualifying questions. And then step 4 is really, let's register the opportunity, manage the discovery, let us manage that, do the demo for you. If there's any technical validation, we can provide pricing and the contract information, and you continue to manage that relationship. So super easy process. We're very easy to work with. It's a wonderful co-sell model, but I always think that term is a little rugged. I think, we enjoy meeting with the customers, and we want you engaged as much as you want to be engaged. At the bottom, it talks about a little bit of conversation starters. My insurance went up again. You can talk about the safety cam, or the fuel prices are killing us. How can we have the conversation about reducing their idle time? So I think, these opportunities are probably already in your book of business. You don't necessarily need new customers. It's just really having a different conversation with the customers who already trust you. Julie and I will partner with you every step of the way to help identify potential opportunities, support your meetings, and we can do the demonstrations. But we're here to support you and really look forward to working with everyone. Julie?
Yeah, perfect. So just to wrap this up here, guys, essentially, the 4 key benefits, obviously, we talked about the frictionless co-sell, where we'll do the demo validation, you keep the ownership on the customer account, right? You get paid full commissions for the co-sell motion. There's no hidden in commissions when it comes to us doing the heavy lifting for you. So that's important. Customer, we'll meet the customer where they're at in their buying cycle, essentially. And Tracy already mentioned the OpEx is kind of the 95% rule. Fast implementations, guys. We can get this done. I mean, shipped in 1 to 2 weeks, essentially. Takes under 30 minutes for the customer to install. That means it's billing and it's commissionable. So I do want to just talk a little bit about the actual lead protection for you guys, right? You're obviously registering your customers with our accounts. All of your leads are protected while there is activity going on and up to 90 days past that activity in our CRM. From there, leads are not active or being reassigned, right? Nobody's going to start calling on these leads. Tracy and I have been in this business a long time. We understand how important your customer and your customer relationships are to you, and they're just as important to keep that privacy separate. However, if that lead is inactive for over 90 days and another partner comes in with that lead past that 90 days, we will reassign that lead if we haven't sold the account. But if we sell it, that account is yours until that customer leaves Azuga services, right? So for the life of the customer, that is yours. So what's next? Ultimately, we want you to register leads. We want to talk about these accounts. I have an Azuga partner portal that we've put out there where there is a registration link to kind of get you started. I will get the link to you guys. Register link is right here. That will take you a form. It will take you under 60 seconds to fill it out. It's very, very basic questionnaire. Also on here is a sales resources tab that, like I said, I've been creating kind of a library of things for you, right? Verticals to focus on. There's that typical and non-typical paper I was talking about with the pain points and the talking points, right? We've got a battle card. We've got qualifying questions. So we're constantly updating this component here that we want to share with you guys. So I know we're right at noon here Central Time. Are there Q&A? Are any questions essentially that we can help answer?
Yeah, we do have a couple questions real quick before you guys go.
Okay.
The first one is, who are your biggest competitors and where do you consistently win?
You want to answer that, Tracy?
Yeah, absolutely. So biggest competitors would be Geotab, Samsara, occasionally Verizon Connect, but it's really how everyone disperses the data. And then where we fit, again, we're really strong in that SMB space. We do have enterprise customers. As a matter of fact, our largest customer has 20,000 vehicles. But all day long, we're doing that SMB space.
All right. And beyond GPS tracking, what business outcomes are customers achieving?
A lot of fuel savings. A lot of companies are working with their insurance companies to reduce their premiums, essentially, once they bring Azuga on board. That's a really big one, right? So they're showing essentially their driver behaviors. They're showing that things are reducing. They're showing that accidents are reducing. It's helping saving costs. So there's a lot of business outcomes around cost savings that weren't there before, right? Maintenance breaking down or vehicles breaking down, right? They're getting in front of the maintenance components there. So it allows the company to have, all those unscheduled breakdowns are now kind of moved to the side because they're keeping on top of the maintenance. So there's a number of business outcomes that we can continue to point to.
Yeah, I would just add, cost savings and operational efficiencies to really sum it up.